Good evening. I'm Tumelo Setlaba and you're watching Business Day TV. And our lead story this evening. MTN subscribers are getting some reprieve. The telco's firm has announced measures to lower communication costs. It says prices for its monthly data offerings related to 1 gigabyte and below will be reduced by 25 to 50% from mid-April, and has added that customers will get 20 megabytes of data daily via its instant messaging platform. The move comes 4 months after the Commission watchdog revealed the findings of its data services inquiry and instructed MTN and rival Vodacom to slash prices or face prosecution, as they were found to be charging more for services in South Africa than they were in other countries. South Africa's Investec has warned that difficult market conditions could result in a slump in year-end profits. The financial services group expects its headline earnings per share to fall by around 41%, with the second half of its financial year proving difficult in South Africa and in the UK. CEO Fani Titi has described the performance as resilient and remains optimistic about the firm's longer-term potential, but has added that the coronavirus outbreak will dent its fourth quarter performance. Grand Parade's food business exodus has given it a boost. The firm's disposed of Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin-Robbins, and that helped it improve profit and decrease debt during its interim period. The investment companies reported a 19% rise in revenue, while headline earnings more than doubled to 44 million rand. Growth on that end was also fueled by proceeds from Burger King, which is also on the chopping block. The group's debt, in the meantime, fell 53% to 264 million rand. Looking ahead, the group says it's not eyeing any new business opportunities as it continues to focus on asset disposals.
I think we're quite focused in implementing the strategy, and we're moving ahead. There won't be any deviations. I don't think we're looking at, going into any other random investments. At this stage, we're focused. We are, implementing this controlled sale of assets and unlocking value for all of our shareholders.
Capitec is back in the green. Shares in the lender have recovered to close 40% higher. That's 42% rather higher. This comes after an intense sell-off this week, which Capitec's partly attributed to automatic trading. Simply put, Capitec says international traders who were motivated by continued rand weakness sold their shares, which led to Wednesday's 28% drop. And algorithms then prompted the automatic disposal of the stock. Marion Roberts is safe for now. The company doesn't anticipate any cancellations on its current contracts due to the coronavirus outbreak. At its half-year mark, the group's order book grew 60%. But the engineering and mining contractor concedes that it's too early to judge the potential impact of the virus on this year's earnings. In the meantime, Marion Roberts remains operational with smaller groups of people. Certain projects in the oil and gas platform, however, have reached a near standstill due to supply constraints from China. The company says its focus is on cash management during this time. South African Airways' business rescue plan deadline may be rerouted again. This was meant to be published at the end of this month. According to Business Day, SAA's rescue practitioners have asked for a 2-month extension to determine the full effects of the coronavirus on the airline. They say this will allow them to engage with unions and factor in emergency conditions created by the pandemic. Now, still sticking with the virus, South Africa's spread has intensified, with confirmed cases now sitting at 202. That's a near 35% rise when compared to yesterday. While the number is relatively small compared with many hard-hit countries, the rapid increase prompted President Cyril Ramaphosa to declare a national disaster this past weekend. And a few regulations have been put in place under the Disaster Management Act to try and mitigate the spread. This includes limiting alcohol sales, as well as making it a crime to refuse to be tested for the virus. But what do these restrictions mean within the context of South Africa's Bill of Rights? Here's Lawson Naidu's response.
This does obviously impact on the freedom of movement, freedom of expression as well, and perhaps other rights that are contained in the Bill of Rights. So whilst there is a legal basis for government to restrict these rights at the moment, I think as a vigilant society we need to make sure that the rights are only curtailed to the extent that is necessary in order to curb the pandemic and to ensure the safety of all people within the boundaries of South Africa.
And now let's take a look at the markets picture, and we're starting off stateside. S&P 500 dropped by 0.05%. The Nasdaq increased by 1.28%, and the Dow saw a marginal increase of 0.37%. And over in Europe, FTSE 100 saw a tiny increase of 0.38%. CAC 40 saw a whopping 4.11% increase, and the DAX saw a 3.39% increase. And back at home, our all-share index has increased by close to 6%. Resources 10 seeing a close to 8% increase. Financials 15 increasing by 6.25%. And Industrials 25 seeing an increase of close to 5%. That's where I leave things with you for now. Up next, it's the Big Small Business Show, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see you back at 7 p.m.